So yeah, welcome to the Geo Community Call for July 6th. Hope everybody had a great week. Excited to kick things off for this week. Um, and for today, we're going to try something new. I'm going to hand it over to Davila to run the meeting, and I'll jump back in at the end to talk about the week ahead. But a lot of exciting things to go through. And so yeah, excited to hand it over to Davila.
Yeah, thanks, Yaniv. Hi, everybody. Happy to see everyone on board today, and I see some people more flowing in from the Discord. So, welcome, everybody. And a quick overview of what we're going to chat about today. So we'll start with some recap of what's been going on by Yaniv, and then we'll move forward to content highlights. And then Arturas has prepped an interesting discussion, very relevant to what's going on as well. I'll do a quick overview of leaderboards, share some bounty-related information, and we'll also invite you to participate in a quick poll at the end of the meeting. So I'm very keen to hear the results of that.
Sounds
Uh,
good.
yep, so let's kick things off, Yaniv.
All right. So I'm just going to start with the rankings, which has been a really fun thing that we've been doing. So for the last week, we've been doing the ranking of the week has been top crypto podcasts. And this has been a fun one. It's our first one that we're doing in the crypto space. We have 58 people have submitted their rankings so far. I'm not sure why this got set to today because generally these have been running Tuesday to Tuesday. So, Preston, I think you created this. Maybe we could take a look at
Yeah,
that.
I'll extend it. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Um, but it's been fun seeing these come in. And, another week where I think uh, the ranking makes general sense. I think it meets the smell test. We got Unchained is a very listened to podcast, as is Bankless, The Defiant. Um, Interesting to see GRTIQ here. So looks like we've got some graph fans in the group, which is great. And as we go down, we see, some great podcasts here. Um, I am going to be interested to dive in a little bit more into the formula that we're using for rankings, how we actually aggregate these, how we set the scores. So that I think could be a really interesting discussion. Maybe we look at that over the next week or two. There's also a little bit more that we want to do around um, reputation. And so we've talked about that in the past. We haven't implemented it yet. I think it's nice to get a baseline, which this is showing us here. And from there, I think it's going to make, introducing the reputation weighted voting even more interesting from this sort of baseline. So really cool to see these submissions here and a great list of podcasts. If you haven't published your ranking yet, please get that in. And we're going to have our next one is going to kick off tomorrow. Um, at the end of last week, we talked a little bit about what some focus areas were going to be. And one of the things that I'd mentioned was our interest in going a little bit deeper in things that would support better quality debates and discourse in our existing spaces. So hopefully we'll get a chance to look at some things in that direction. And then we'll see what some more focus areas will be kind of at the end of the call today. So that's a bit on our side. And yeah, Davila, back over to you.
Thanks. I think that leads nicely into what Arturas has prepared in terms of the content highlights and a little bit of a discussion of something new that we started recently. So curators may have noticed that we have changed our regular programming, so to say, during the space calls. We are now not just reviewing the content that we're generating, sharing tips, tricks, feedback, but we're also doing some discussions on those calls. And our content is also starting to represent that as well. So Arturas, why don't you share a bit more about it?
Okay, let's go. So, as always, throughout the content, just a quick rundown on general content highlights. We are shifting more towards the debates, but some highlights are still coming out that are just data or claims. So we have the Claude Sonnet 5 in the AI space, obviously a big launch, big release. So some claims about the launch, benchmarks, capabilities, all of that's relevant. As always, we have the benchmark scores organized into practical categories. So to take a look, it's a big model, so it's a good place to have on Geo and with some general information about it. We have the data centers being added here. So obviously data centers is a huge point of conversation in the US. A lot of debates happening around that. So we are sort of organizing the data centers here. This is work done by a curator. And for data centers, you have the country, the street address, country, state, operators. And this is a curated list of sort of the data centers that are added or, let's say, done by more relevant operators, sort of bigger projects. So some information about that. Tokenized RWA ecosystem. So we have some tokenized tokens, backing assets, protocols, and asset managers. And in the health space, we have circadian rhythm protocols right here. Having good sleep is important, so it's a lot of interesting data here on how to maintain it. We have the supplement health claims. So these are claims about different parts of supplementation, and we have them organized by cognition, mood, cardiovascular health, etc. And we have the tick-borne diseases, which also present some data about it. So we have the diseases list that's added. And we have a bunch of sort of more technical properties here also about them. And general curated page of it. It's kind of a trending topic in the health space. So we have the claims about Lyme disease, news, symptoms and diagnosis, prevention and treatment, etc. So this closes down the section for the general highlights that we have. And for the remainder of the highlights, I'd like to go in a little bit into the debates that we've been having in the community calls or for the debates that the editors are doing on their own. But obviously, we're now moving towards organizing the debates happening, sort of organizing the claims and setting up the ability to have those conversations in a more specific and nuanced way. So I want to go through different highlights that different editors did, and they experimented with the ontology because there is like more than one way to go about it. So we can maybe together take a look at it and see if we have any preferences and what challenges we're facing with the ontology for structuring data. So first, we have the approach of the debate right here. So we have a type, like all editors use the type question for this. And so here, for example, we have the questions that have answers and answers list to type claims. So basically, all of these answers, it's just a different type of claim. If we click on this, so that's a claim. It has a source. A claim can come, like, for example, this claim came from a news story, right? So a news story was generated a claim. And now it just so happens that this claim might be a type of, like, it could answer this question. So we added it here. And then these claims are grouped in data blocks here by yes and by no. And so now basically these are positions. So that's one way to do it. Like I would say ontologically accurate. It is kind of, the problem right here, ontologically speaking, obviously, is that the claim is not connected to the question through the yes or no. It just, so all of these claims right here, some of them are yes, some are yes or no, and like we don't really differentiate that. So the way that to make these data blocks is just throughout the collection, which kind of is a, ontologically speaking, like seems like a duct tape approach, but we can take a look and see like if how do you feel about the answers being claims in general, and if it's something that is doable in general, we could work. For example, we could work on that. For example, in the relation, we could add yes or no, and then it would allow us to create the data blocks with the yes and no claims, for example. So we have a few other similar approaches. So here's, will tokenized stocks replace traditional stock ownership? We have yes and no, and these also link to these claims right here. And is Ethereum position against Bitcoin structurally weakening or fundamentally sound? We have weakening and fundamentally sound. And these are the claims under it, which are kind of they're essentially arguments for the fact that it is fundamentally sound, right? And so those are the claims right here. In this case, these claims are added by Mo specifically for this debate, but it could also might as well come from news stories, from everything else. And these are the answers. So that is an approach number one. Then we have a yes-no approach. So in this case, we have a question, and it has answers yes and no. And then if we go through the collections right here, so these are sort of the, let's see if still, done that way. Oh, I think, oh yeah, this is like a new approach. So Catalan just redid it just before the call. So this is a debate. And this is kind of a unique approach. So here we took a specific, like claims made in a specific debate in the Senate hearing where experts and lawmakers debate urgent regulatory frameworks. And we have the Dario Madej claims, Joshua Bengio claims, and Stuart Trussell claims. And these are specifically about open source AI. So we obviously, because of the Dario Madej like recent statements about the open source, we have a bunch of debates stemming from that. So the term open source is misleading when applied to large AI models. Traditional open source refers to small developers iterating quickly on shared code. Once AI model is released as open source, there is no mechanism to moderate its usage. So there's like arguments basically against the open source models, and then we have other arguments that are pro. So that's like a different sort of a unique kind of approach, which is like we're capturing a debate that's happening. And then we have some work being done here with unique answers. So here we have a question again: should government have the power to pause or stop frontier AI model releases? And the answer is no. Governments should not have the power to control frontier AI releases. So that's a answer, not a claim. And it's sort of context dependent to this question specifically. And then we showcase them here. Same with Iran. So Iran war debate. So this is a specific also kind of approach. We had a debate about Iran war in the community call on global affairs. And these are the arguments captured from that specific debate that we had. But the ontology questions remain the same. So let's take a look. So was attack Iran justified? Yes, it was, right? So that's the answer. And then we have claims that were made for that argument during the call. Iran's nuclear program crossed the dangerous threshold and blocked verification. The Iranian government was knowingly massacring its own civilians, which alone justifies external intervention. Some of these claims have been made, and then no, why it wasn't from the same debate. So this is a different approach. So at this point, we have answers that are unique, and Ahmed was arguing for this. For him, and this also has an additional unique aspect that this is not a claim, this is an argument, as opposed to claims. And the reason why Ahmed and he can, so I would like us to have that conversation. We have Yaniv here, we have the Preston and the editors. So it would be like interesting for us to kind of see if we can converge on what kind of ontology, like at least maybe we can agree if some of these don't work as structures for the debates, and if some of them maybe we like more than others and we want to sort of build up more towards that direction. The argument to use the argument by Ahmed was that argument is now added in the geo space. We have this type, right? And so he was experimenting with it, and it does have arguing for, supports, opposes, authors. Preston was the one added it, so maybe you'll have some additional points on that, Preston. And like to me, I guess I would see that this Iran's nuclear program crossed the dangerous. Like to me, like it sounds like a claim. Maybe it should also be a claim. The question if it's also an argument, why are we adding this type in addition, or should it be just either a claim or an argument and they're formatted differently? It poses a few questions here. I guess so Ahmed's argument was that when you edit an argument, then you have a property argues for, and that's why you need a unique yes, it was justified, not just yes, because then it would be arguing for any yes, right? So this like is arguing for a specific yes that is added in a specific question. So that's like the ontological approach. I do have some, yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say when I added this, so I actually Arturus and I met on Friday to go over some ontology stuff, or maybe it was on Thursday to go over some ontology stuff for the debates app, and this was added as in addition to the quote entity. We can discuss whether we want to use it for claims and claims arguing for things like that. The quote entity has actually a supports, and like this has debates, so this would point to the debate in question. So then that debate would have answers for that. Arguing for would point to those answers. So you would have both the question and answer in the relations for that argument. So yeah, if we wanted to go that way, it would be for them.
Yeah, so we do have like an example thanks to Catalin. So some of these, so let's say we have a debate, but it might as well be a question, right, for the purposes of our discussion. And so here a claim, let's say the claim is, making safety guardrails resistant to circumvention in openly released AI models may be solvable, but remains and advocates to open release should be challenged to solve it. Okay, so we have a claim right here, and then we have a quote, right? A quote that is supporting that from the debate. So in your proposal there, this would be a quote and an argument?
That's what the proposal was. But after we talked, it kind of sounded like the argument addition was unnecessary and we could just add the properties to quote that we had added there.
I feel like that could be the right way to go.
May I ask you, Preston, about the main type that I was using is debate, the debate type, and the debate type has argument. So I starting from the debate type, can you explain more, please?
Yeah, so I had not updated the ontology since Arturus and I discussed this on Thursday. After our discussion, it sounded like adding arguments was unnecessary, and instead it would be quotes.
So to me, arguments is like the relation type, right?
Yeah.
But then the two entity type can just be claims. So if we want to say that, here are the arguments for, here are the arguments against, or here are just all the arguments, that is the relation type.
One question we also should ask here,
right?
Yeah, that's what I would think.
One question we can also ask here is a question type or something that is necessary? I was looking on there's some new features on Reddit where they have some interesting use cases for this, but essentially you can propose a debate in certain subreddits, and the way they do it is you propose a debatable claim, and that claim then is argued, and everybody argues either for or against the claim. And so instead of a question that has many answers, a claim is a statement which you can either be for or against. It wouldn't be an answer to a question in the same way. So that's another interesting way we could just simplify down to really just using the claim type.
Yeah, there is that issue with having questions is I feel like you end up having to kind of double up on a lot of stuff, right? Because basically what happens is, you have all of your, supporting arguments, opposing arguments, and each one could be debated,
Yeah.
but like it's one step removed from the question that would be the primary thing for the debate. So it does kind of add this extra level of indirection. I think that having a question, it's nice, it's like a poll, right? Or I do feel like there's value in that to say, hey, what are the top open questions? But it does basically, I think, yeah, introduce this extra indirection and maybe make it difficult to actually map out, where we're at with all of the different, duking out the different claims.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess one of the reasons why the question, in favor of the question is that, for example, Iran, let's say we have two claims, right? Iran war was justified or Iran war was not justified, right? If we want to start the debate, do we which of those claims do we go? Right? Is it already kind of favoritism towards one claim or the other if we present that one as the claim and the other one is not even in the list because it's just an opposing claim? It would always be always just a proactive one. So it always say justified, and then people can argue that not, position with the claim that the Iran war was not justified. So if you have a question, there's not that's not a problem. Just both are just answers.
So is that an argument for having the question because the question is more neutral?
Yeah. Personally, I do like the claim, but I'm just raising that as it is a consideration.
It might be an interesting thought to say that we have multiple types of debates, and some debates are like a multiple choice question that would have multiple answers. Some debates are debating for or against a claim, right? And so then we could even start with the simple case of debating for or against a claim and then expand to, multiple choice questions and
Yeah.
answers.
Well, if we could just one of the biggest open questions for me, which to me this is one of the most consequential parts of this, is the separation between the question and the claim, right? So let's say we're looking at something like this. So we have, was attacking Iran justified? And then we have all of these claims. Now, let's say that each of these already spawn their own debates. So part of the issue becomes, let's say that debate, right? So let's say there's we can go back. We don't have to drill in. So if let's say that this first thing spawned a debate, right? Iran's nuclear program crossed a dangerous threshold and blocked verification. It says the question version of that would be did Iran's nuclear program cross a dangerous threshold and block verification or something like that? So say that got debated and it was, plus, pro 75% against 25%. You wouldn't really see that here, right? So it's do we see a mechanism by which we could link those? Because I do feel like if you had that whole debate separately, you would want to see the result of that flow through to the claim. Would that make sense to do? Would they be aliases, or somehow, we could come up with the relation type between the question and the claim that could make it so that, the support, the confidence score flows through or not?
It would be doable, but we haven't yet start. Yeah, Preston.
I was going to say, are you wanting to see that on this page or on the claims page?
I am, right? Because it's one of the things I would want to solve for, because I feel like, say you're trying to understand this question.
Yeah.
I do think you want to be able to see all of the claims and have a sense for their support levels. Now,
it's almost like we need in the same way we're going to have rankings flow into entity scores, we need to have supporting and opposing claims and the results of a debate flow into the entity scores in a similar way.
Potentially, yeah. So I think there are solutions to it. but I think we need to try to get a handle for what would we want. And like I do think that it's worth trying to solve for this if we're going to have them separate. I could see the argument for not having questions and just having claims because then like you don't have to deal with this. To me, there would be some drawbacks to that, but maybe that's the right answer. But I'd kind of want to see if there's a good solution to this before making that decision.
If you click on the first one, Iran's nuclear program, you would see that it has the supporting and opposing claims. But in this case, when we were debating on the call, it was supporting.
I would say like even here, I would kind of see that it should be supported by like Iran enriched uranium at near weapons grade. So this claim supports the argument that Iran nuclear program crossed the dangerous threshold. Like it should be like supported by, I feel like,
Yeah,
in this case.
I'm generally not a fan of this argument type.
Yeah, it wasn't meant to be its own thing. It was supposed to be an addition on the quote entity, or the quote type, specifically
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
bids.
So
Um,
can we go back and just try to see if we can get a little bit further on an answer to that previous question? So part of the issue is if we wanted to have a link between one of these claims and like a matching question, it's not always a one-to-one link, right? So let's say that you have this Iran's nuclear program cross the dangerous threshold and block verification. First of all, people can upvote, downvote this claim directly, right? And they can rank these, and you could come up with a score for just the claim by itself. But if you wanted to turn that into a question, I mean, maybe there's a few different ways to map this to a question, right? And this, first of all, this is already a compound kind of claim, right? So you could say, you know, was Iran's nuclear program, did it cross a dangerous threshold? You could separately ask, did they block verification? You could separately ask, like, was that a bad thing? Right? Or were they justified to do that? So there's kind of, I guess, slight different variations on the question that you could ask. So I guess, one of the questions would be, is there a way to always have like a direct link between a claim and its equivalent question so that we could map it? Or, right, is there value in just treating them always separately because they may not always really map cleanly one-to-one?
I would
That's
say
one of
the way
the.
that, yeah.
I was going to say it's when we're talking about context independent claims, it's one of the complexities around it of does it map directly to something or is it just self-sufficient?
It is supposed to be self-sufficient, but there should also be relations, right? So, for example, the Iranian government was knowingly massacring innocent civilians, which alone justifies external intervention. These are at least two claims, right? Like we could debate: were they massacring like civilians? Does that justify the war? Because maybe I do think that they did like massacre. Maybe I don't think that justifies the war, right? So that alone, like, kind of is that thing. But also, the claim itself could be related to, like, as an opposing one. The civilian death toll used to justify the war is contested and possibly inflated for narrative purposes, or for justifying the war, right? So maybe like within that relation, we could if had that like a relation entity between these two, we could have a conversation about. We could upvote and downvote them in that context. We could kind of start having that conversation. But the claims stand on their own. And in like the way, so we did like a whole, this actually like question and these arguments are mapped from a real conversation that we were having. And the way that these debates are actually happening is that, let's say, first, like someone raised a point, right? Like Iran has massacred like tens of thousands of civilians. someone contested it in the debate and said no, like the death toll was inflated, right? So then we were saying, okay, like the side for justifying the war said, yes, but maybe it wasn't like, let's say you don't agree it's tens of thousands. Do you agree that it was like 10,000? The answer is no. Like we don't have that. Do you agree that there was like at least some? Do you agree that there was like 1,000? Like, do you agree that there was some? Then there's yes, I agree. So now we got like to a claim that actually both sides agree with. So now we can move forward and say, okay, so does any massacring of civilians justify the war? And then yes or no, right? So in the course of that debate, we went through like 3-4 different claims that we were like kept like maybe like some side believed in it, others like kept rejecting it until we landed into a claim that both sides agree, and we can now move the conversation forward. So in reality, there's so many different claims, and maybe I don't want to be arguing for the exact number of the civilians, but I do want to be arguing that there was a massacre, of like civilians. So that's enough for me. Maybe someone else wants to argue that no, actually there was 30,000, and that's their claim. So probably the answer is just kind of allowing for like just more claims and maybe grouping them. These are the claims, about the fact that civilian casualties were happening, and then there can be claims like 30 and 40,000, and I could either argue against it by saying no, I disagree with your number, or I could argue against it by saying no, I disagree that it happened at all. So at that point, it would be just different relations between the claims, and all of the debates would be, about that. So basically, I think that the simplest, practical way to do this, in practice, if we actually do want to have debates on, on the knowledge graph like this, I should be able to, set up a list of my claims that I want to argue for, right? So maybe I'm arguing for the fact that the government knowingly massacred. Maybe I'm not ready and I don't want to argue, I don't have the facts to argue for the 40,000. But I'm arguing for this. Someone else is want to argue for 30,000 people were massacred. They can connect to they can say that that's their claim. They're ready to debate that. And if someone disagrees with the fact that any massacring was happening, they can debate either with me or with the person that has that other claim. So just about basically everyone should be able to set up their own, organize their own claims that they can hold. And then we do a good job at showing what other claims are kind of opposing, so that other people hold, so they can match them to debate on these positions that they actually hold.
So you would want to be more claim centric and maybe not even have questions be a core part of the ontology for this.
Yeah, probably what would be more helpful is not the questions, but let's say kind of a broader claims or claim categories, right? Anyone who's making any claim that the Iranian government was knowingly massacring its own civilian, anyone who's making a claim that there was a 30,000 who were 20, 1,000, whatever, all of those claims that they might want to hold and argue for, they can argue against anyone who disagrees about the numbers, but all of them can debate with a person who argues against the existence of knowingly massacring of civilians, right? So it's just about, as long as everyone actually holds their claims and they're connected as a person, me as a person should be connected to my, the claims that I'm ready to debate, then it's just about categorizing them and showing to which other claims it could be debated and through which lens. And then, we put them head to head and they can debate. So I think it's kind of categorization of claims can be the key to this.
Yeah. Hey, Jeremy. Great to see you. Thanks for saw some input in the chat. Would you want to add to that at all?
Yeah, I just think I think a claim as a base of a debate make things really easier for the ontology. And as Arthur was saying, there's different way to add on the debate. It the easy form is just having things in favor, supporting or going against. But then having some other relationship between claims sourced or counter argued by this, or I think it's a way to do this.
Yeah, it seems like we're starting to converge in that direction. I mean, it could be that something like a question is an interesting way of kind of grouping, related claims, but maybe it shouldn't be a primary thing. It's almost like it adds like a narrative layer almost a little. But now we do still have things like polls, and polls do map to questions. So there are places for that. But I could see how for the debates and for getting granular and being able to be kind of specific and be able to track and see where the scores are for each thing. I see the argument for the claim. So yeah, thanks everyone for the great input and for the great discussion here. We may think about it a little bit more, but I think this was a great treatment of the topic. My summary from what I've seen here is I don't think we need an argument type. I haven't seen a strong argument for that. I do think we either want arguments for or and against, or potentially arguments as a relation type. We can probably focus a lot more on claims, and maybe we'll start to deprioritize questions in the debates. Okay, great convo. Arturis, do you want to keep going with, is there more to demo there, or should we hand it back?
Yeah, that's pretty much it with the highlights of the week.
Awesome. Great work, everyone. And yeah, thanks everyone who participated in some of these, some of the debate practice stuff last week. Super helpful to get experience with it and roll that in.
Yeah,
Cool. All right, Davila, what's next?
Yeah, we'll be continuing with the debates in our community calls throughout the week. So if you'd like to give it a hand, please join the calls, and we'll be very happy to have you there. And from this point, I'd like to move to some recognition for our curators, who are the driving force. I'll start this week with top submissions, since I see some of our curators are on the call. Ahmed is recognized as the top submission for the AI space. Ahmed, would you like to share maybe some secrets for your success? How are you doing with how are you achieving all of these submissions? We've seen your face on leaderboards quite a couple of times. Okay, that's fine. If you get the opportunity to open up your mic, just hit me a message, and I would love to hear from you. We also have Christian on the crypto space, Mohammed on health, and Amin on world affairs. Arturas showed some of these highlights. I'll also share these on our Discord announcements, so people are welcome to browse these in a little bit more detail. In terms of the points, we distributed 10,000 points this week. Quite a lot of them went to Amira, who has worked on the map for the ceasefire efforts. So there was a very detailed page on this. And we also have Muhammad doing the top cold exposure studies, Ivan and Christian in crypto space, and Saad in AI. So congratulations to everybody. Great performance there. If any of you are on the call and would like to tell us a little bit more how it went preparing all of these submissions, would love to hear from you. If not, then I have a bit of an announcement from my end. We've talked about coming to a closure in terms of Curator Season 1 and moving towards Curator Season 2. Overall, in Season 1, we had 302 bounties that everybody has contributed to. So I think that's a lot of effort from everybody, and thanks everyone for participating. For Season 2, we will be changing up the bounty game a little bit. Some of the data-oriented bounties will still be there, but we'll also be focusing on real-time developments, such as, for example, news blogs, X posts, general posts, sourcing, organizing claims, and fact-checking activities. So what that means in the near future is that we will be closing quite a number of the bounties that we're hosting at the moment. If anybody has a bounty assigned to them, we will, of course, let you to finish things up before closing those and moving to the next ones. But anybody who's open to something new, would like to invite you to participate in bounties for publishing latest news stories. A couple of tips on how to locate these bounties and express your interest. So when you go onto the Curator app and click on the bounty dashboard, please select any allocation in the allocation field and just type in latest news. And you'll come by the 4 bounties that we have for latest news in AI, crypto, health, and world affairs space. The way these bounties work is, would like you to go to the Geo News app, browse it. It's available to everyone on the left hand field when you are on the Geo browser. Browse the app, identify if there are any news stories that are important, significant, but are not on the app at the moment. From that point, the workflow is quite simple. So we'd like you just to use the import from URL tool. It's available at the top of all of the spaces. Input the URL to the news story that you think should be featured on the Geo News app. Review the proposed content. It gets organized for you by our AI assistant and publish the information to the datasets space. Once you're done with that, we'd like to hear from you on Discord. Take a look at that and, of course, reward the points as appropriate. As a bonus thing, if you'd like, we also enjoy seeing the enriched additional entities on the news stories. Those will be available for you on the editing page. And if anybody's interested in seeing a quick tutorial about publishing the news stories, please let us know either on Discord or on the Zoom chat in editor DMs, and we'll be very happy to either host a quick workshop or maybe post a quick video about how to do the news story curation. And of course, the more stories you publish, the more points you get for it, the more skill. And again, a hint to the season 2, it's a very useful skill to invest in at the moment. Maybe any questions on the bounties before I move to social media? Okay. If not, then a couple of shout outs to our curators who've been active outside of Geo. We have Maxim promoting his ATG. A very interesting thing he notes in his post is about the cycle of information and rechecking, re-auditing, and keeping the information live. Definitely an important feature on Geo. And it's very nice of Maxim to notice and note it in his work as well. And then, of course, we have Kevin flexing and sharing his AI capabilities with everybody. If there are people looking for some help setting up their AI workflows, Kevin is very active on our Discord and happy to help. And then we have Ibrahim also promoting his dashboard for US-Iran conflict events there. This was a long thread, but very interesting. So please give Ibrahim a follow and keep in touch with him there. And a new curator that we have in our community, very aptly named Robin Good. He is starting up a space for content curation methodology on Geo browser. And he was also inspired by the SOV piece that Yaniv did a couple of weeks ago, and actually wrote his own article merging the SOV concept and content curation, which is definitely a unique perspective. So please visit Robin's Substack, take a look at the article. And I've also featured it on my X, so the the link is there available for everybody as well. Any questions maybe or comments? Oh, Sarah, I see you have the map of Shadow Maritime. Would you like to maybe demo it yourself? Do we have an editor who works with Sarah and maybe could demo it for him? Okay, let me demo it for everybody. Before I move to the demo, I've also asked Saraj to join the call today. Saraj, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, hi, Saraj.
Hi.
Very nice to see you here. Saraj is one of our curators who was joined a while ago. He's completed some bounties and he is starting to host a space for crypto events. So, Saraj, very happy to see you. Thanks for joining and agreeing to chat with us. Would you mind sharing a little bit of your background and motivation for joining Geo?
Yeah, of course. So I think I am here in I think like Geo and the Graph since the beginning. So I was the curator in Graph, and yes, Yannick, yeah, I'm fan of yours. So since the beginning, and then yeah, it was a long journey there. Yeah, I was curator there, and then after that, delegator. Yeah, since the beginning, I was in the Graph, and then I was very interested to know about the Geo, and then after that, I jumped to the Geo. What Yanni was trying to do since the beginning, I joined the Discord, and then now I am here trying to contribute with what I know, so from my expertise. So yes, I will try to help from my best. Yes, so this is what we. So I'm currently in Portugal. So I am in Europe now. So if you are around here, I'm happy to meet you also, like in Portugal, Lisbon.
Hey, so great to see you. And yeah, it's been a long, crazy journey, but we're still
Yes.
here working to build this Web3 thing, and
Yes.
we're making a lot of progress. So very thankful for everyone who's continuing to grind on this journey with us.
Yes, really. Thank you very much for the opportunity, guys. And yes, all the best for the good work that we are doing. And yes, shout out to everyone.
Saraj, so what have you been up to on Geo and how did it go?
Yeah, so I've worked on a couple of bounties, like also in the health, in cryptos, and it's really nice that how it is progressing. Like I really like the importing part, like when we have these, what we can do, we can directly import like everything using the AI assistant and everything. So it's really moving fast. So I'm really happy that we are doing it very well. I know that there are still some of the things that we have to improve, like, and I think I already mentioned some of that in the I think like 2 weeks ago. But it's really good, like how Geo is progressing. Yes, and now I already claimed the topic like crypto events, so I will be working on that. I just need some of the few answers from one of the editor, and then yeah, I will be continue with work on that. Yes.
Cool. What do you think are some of the most interesting events coming up this year?
I think ETH Global, and yeah, there are many of them. I still have to research a bit. Yeah, it's a bit like shadowing the crypto things right now, maybe because of this current situation, like the wars and market. So yeah, I have to catch up again all these. Yeah, and then I will of course update this in the topic.
Oh, excited to get it up there.
Yes.
So
So yeah, thank you very much.
what do you find is important when owning a space in comparison to completing bounties?
Yeah, I think it is more independent task, because I have now more authority to do several things that I don't have to wait for someone like a validation or something like that. So it's quite interesting now to directly own a kind of space, and then you are the one who is editing it. So it's really interesting to be like, owning the space. So, and then of course, it should be really meaningful, all the data that I input there, or so it's also like a crucial work to do there. But I have more authority or the power to do things in the topics. Yes.
Yeah, I think very keen observation there. Thanks, Saraj. We'll be looking forward to seeing the crypto event space that you build out.
Yes.
Definitely keeping an eye on what you get up to. And Geo, thanks for
Yes.
participating
Thank
in
you.
the call.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, that's it for what we had planned for today. So any closing remarks from you, Andy?
Real quick, if we have Armando, maybe Armando can give a quick a sort of summary of his work with the podcast data.
Sure.
Very quickly, maybe. Like, I don't want to be redundant. I will share my screen. The interesting thing about the data collection for crypto podcast has been facing a couple of challenge, which is that finding crypto podcast show is kind of niche. They are not well categorized anywhere. So it's a kind of one-to-one hunt. And then also the pseudonymity of some of the hosts. The pseudonymity is a well-known issue in the crypto space. The interesting things here was the finding of a source of truth, and what I want to showcase today, because I think it's the starting point for any clean data collection. I start from Podchaser, but I quickly figured that the data was corrupt. The show was well mislabeled, a lot of broken URL and so. But I was lucky enough to be able to fetch directly Apple Podcast with Claude. Then I was able to rely on a source of truth, allowing me to fetch avatars, RSS feeds, websites, etc. So I was able to build the collection from there and complete it only killing the purchaser API and doing web search to complete the data. But I knew the data was already accurate because I had this source of truth. So it's like the tip of this task is like always try to start from a good source. You have some stats about the collection. I was very focused on completing all the description and avatar allowing the covers, allowing the preview mix. I've been working on a special guideline for description. I'm trying to find a tone which is at the same time like interesting, like bring some knowledge about the entity quickly. And maintaining some rules like not starting the description by the name of the entity, avoiding and dash, keeping a certain length, etc., etc. Everything is connected. I just want to end up with a quick shout out for Preston, who really helped us last week because publishing the data we found we faced an issue which was like we published data in the wrong place because we were coaching the relation entity instead of the entity IDs. Preston helped us to understand the issue, and not only to fix the published data, but also to publish the skill, which is publishing the data. So thank you very much for your help, Preston, for this, and working on the next ranking. So.
All right, awesome. Great update and great work. Yeah, it's great to see people taking charge using AI to do more than they could before. So awesome to see. Thanks for the update there. So yeah, just in closing, I mean, great work across the board. It's been really cool to see the contributions. There's some new people getting started, which is really great. For the next week, Keep an eye out for the rankings tomorrow. We're gonna keep pushing on these. I think it's a lot of fun. It's gonna be another one in the crypto space. And feel free to ping some friends, get them to publish their rankings too. This next week should be an especially fun one. So looking forward to that. And as far as spaces, there's a lot of great spaces that people are looking at. Um, but the ones that I think would be really great to see even more focus and refinement and going deeper is world affairs and US politics. I think there's just so much to do there. We've gotten started on those. And as we look at our debates and things like that, there's just so many rich topics to dive into there. So, continuing to go deeper on organizing things for debates, really getting to the core of the issue, some of the key arguments, getting things structured ahead of time. So we have a good foundation to go deeper with. So those would be a few things, but of course we can look for any available bounties, and we love seeing people step up to take charge with the spaces. So appreciate people who have done that. And yeah, thank you everybody for joining us this week, for continuing to push along. I know it's been an interesting time in the space right now, but it's only by building the core building blocks that's going to enable so many new things to happen that we push the space forward. So thank you everyone for joining us, being part of this journey, and have a really great week.